We're just going to go back, though, to have a look in greater detail about the market reaction to what's been happening in London. We can speak to Josh Mahony from IG, who joins us from London. Josh, thanks for being with us. We've been talking about a fall in the value of sterling. If you just put that in context for us, how serious or I suppose, significant a fall is that we've seen today?
Yeah, morning. I mean, look, earlier today people were saying we're on track to see the biggest fall in the pound in 2 years. We're now seeing a little bit of support coming into play. By and large, actually, if you look historically, yes, it is a big drop. We have been seeing a lot of volatility around the pound anyway. So, I think this is, I wouldn't say necessarily par for the course because this is an extraordinary day, but certainly markets relatively taken in a stride, even though we are seeing weakness. It's not necessarily huge amounts of losses, around about 1.5% downside at a point.
So what does this tell us, the market reaction in general, to what investors are thinking today in what looks like a very uncertain stage in the Brexit negotiations?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, look, anytime you see the pound deteriorate, that's the sort of bellwether that you want to be looking towards to see the market reaction in terms of what's happening on a political front. And, the weakness that we're seeing in the pound does reflect the fact that at the moment we're in a very indecisive period of time. I think that what we're seeing at the moment is a step towards possibly a no-deal Brexit, possibly no Brexit whatsoever. For me, I don't think we're necessarily going to see it pass through Parliament. And if that happens, it seems to be the case that we're either going to get no deal or we're going to get no Brexit.
On the stock markets, banks in particular under a lot of pressure. What's driving that?
Yeah, well, I mean, this has got a lot to do with the financial passport and rules that you're going to be seeing if we did see the deal actually pass through. Now, bear in mind that, the bank should benefit if we did see this deal actually push through. By and large, they did actually have a nod to the financial services sector within the write-up. But I guess as time goes on and as we see a number of people resigning from their positions, so the likeliness of this deal actually passing starts to deteriorate. And so we start to look at a period of time where we're going to have stricter rules going between the UK and the EU. And of course, that's not necessarily something that's good for UK banks.
Is there anything in this to be optimistic about, or do you think we're in for a rough few days as the political ramifications play out on the markets?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I think that to some extent, it's all going to come down to, firstly, whether we get the likes of Theresa May actually coming through into the vote within Parliament. But, if we see Parliament vote, on one side, you have actually, if they did vote for it, and bear in mind there's going to be a lot of leverage put on people to vote for it, to say that essentially if you don't vote for it, it's going to be a no-deal Brexit. But certainly, let's say we didn't see them actually pass it within Parliament. I don't think there's necessarily time to start negotiating again. So we're faced with two options. And for the markets, they're completely different. You have no-deal Brexit, which of course would be horrible for the pound. You're likely to see big selling in terms of the pound. Or we could see a referendum, and a referendum could see the UK vote to remain within the EU, so flip it completely on its head. And in that circumstance, then all of a sudden, yes, certainly would be a little bit battered and bruised, a little bit worse for wear. But that would certainly put us back into a more positive position when it comes to the pound. So certainly everything's to play for, and there's huge uncertainty ahead.
OK, plenty to watch there. Joshua Mahony from IG, thanks for joining us from London.